Okay, as I said, we are now on part 10, our people's history. And we begin with an open question. Are there any questions from any of the previous parts that we have been looking at? Any questions at all concerning the history? And right now we are up to the conquest. We stopped at the covenant last week where Israel became a nation. Now we're looking at, we're going to take it from there, the covenant and the constitution, and move forward to the first established monarchy in Israel. Up till this time, up until the time that we're going to look at, we will see that Israel itself is a confederate of tribes that have been pulled together under a single mandate that acts as a constitution. And that would be the covenant, Habrit, spoken at Sinai. And that we're looking at the years between 1500 BCE before Common Era, and we're stretching toward 900 BCE Common Era. So we're looking at a space of 600 years from the time that Israel left Mitzrayim, left Sinai, and would have their first king. What we have here is a picture, an image of the experience of the first appointment or festival of Shavuot. Well, the first earthly one. According to Jubilees, there were some that when Noah offered his sacrifices after the flood, that he actually did it on a Shavuot, believe it or not. And that's from the book of Jubilees. But significantly, this point is where Israel becomes a nation. When Israel, after passing through the Sea of Reeds, which itself was a continuation of supernatural works that Yahweh did on Israel's behalf, Israel began its wilderness journey. Israel's first lesson was in Shabbat keeping, the importance of Shabbat. And this was taught to them through the bread falling from heaven, the manna, which we know continued to fall until Israel ate the grain of the land when they entered. That's some 40 years later. Now, the 47th day after leaving Mitzrayim, that's right, 47 days after leaving Mitzrayim in the Exodus, Israel is camped at Mount Sinai. And what are they doing? Agreeing to the covenant given to Abram. That covenant that was established in Yitzhak and confirmed in Israel. I want someone, if they can, please just take their scriptures, turn to the book of Shemot, and read Shemot or Exodus chapter 19, 1 through 8, please. Shemot or Exodus 19, 1 through 8. This covenant is very special, and we should recognize that this covenant that is being received here is an establishment of the same covenant back in Bereshit or Genesis chapter 17, when Yah walked through the two pieces. Okay, I said 17, might be 15, but we know when Yah cut the covenant with Abram. Anyone has Shemot 19, 1 through 8 is yet?
Yes.
Please read, sir.
In the third month, after the children of Israel had come out of the land of Mitzrayim, on this day they came to the wilderness of Sinai. For they departed from Rephidim and had come to the wilderness of Sinai and camped in the wilderness. So Israel camped there before the mountain. And Moshe went up to Elohim, and Yahweh called to him from the mountain, saying, "This is what you are to say to the house of Jacob, and declare to the children of Israel. You have seen what I did to the Mithrites, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. And now, if you diligently obey my voice, and shall guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be to me as a reign of Kohenim and a Kodesh nation. Those are the words which you are to speak to the children of Israel. And Moshe came and called for the elders of the people, and put before them all these words which Yahweh commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, all that Yahweh has spoken, we shall do. So Moshe brought back the words of the people to Yahweh. Amen.
Amen, and praise Yahweh for that. Now, Yahweh had not spoken the words as yet. All he did was told our ancestors is that if they obey the words that they are about to hear, then they would be to him a set-apart nation. And being a set-apart nation is part of the Abrahamic blessing, because Yahweh said through all nations will be blessed through the seed of Abraham. So here it is, Yahweh is establishing that Israel as the vehicle for blessing to the nations. Now, when we reach to chapter 20 of Shemot, and we have what is commonly known or referred to as the Ten Commandments, those are the terms and conditions of the agreement, which if we obey, we will be blessed, and if we disobey, we will be cursed. And those 10 words, or those 10 commandments, are further explained in the other 5 books written and ascribed to Moshe. And that would be all the commands coming from the mouth of Yahweh, from the book of Bereshit, the first book of scripture, to Devarim, which is the 5th book of Torah, Deuteronomy. They contain items of constitution, how we should relate to Yahweh, and how we should relate to each other, how we should relate to our environment, the earth around us. It tells us how to live. And this is the constitution of heaven. It's everlasting. And it's tied also to the promise in Bereshit of Genesis chapter 3, where Yahweh promised that the seed of woman would bruise the head of the serpent. The bruising of the head is the restoration that comes through the returning to obedience to these words that Yah has spoken. So all is an expansion of the same thing. It's a plan of restoration. Yahweh gave the promise that he would restore through the seed of the woman. He chose Abram to bring forth that seed, to be that line for which that seed comes. He established a covenant with that seed, which is Israel. I'm talking about Israel, but in particular, Moshiach Yahushua, who comes through Abram and through Israel, so that the entire world could join this covenant also and become a part of Yah's chosen people, his kingdom of priests and his kings. And this is what Peter was speaking about when he said that you are a kingdom of priests and kings. He was actually telling the believers that you are Israel, that Yah has chosen, and you are covenanted, because it is the covenanted ones that are a set apart people to him. And notice I am purposely using the personal pronouns, our, for our ancestors, our people, and so on and so forth. This is to actually get everybody comfortable with realizing that when we read scripture, we are also reading our ancestral history. And yes, we may be born in different places, but our literal historical past is tied to scripture. In addition to that, because of our position in Adon Yahusha, we are citizens of the Malkut Shemaim. Therefore, our citizenship is through our ancestral line, but especially and particularly the one who came through that same line and has redeemed us back. So we're learning about ourselves, we're learning about our past. We are citizens of the kingdom of heaven, made up of citizens of Israel. And you know, when I talk about Israel, I'm talking literally about those in the land now. talking about us, the covenanted ones, who have received it on Yahusha. Now, our ancestors were wandering 40 years in the wilderness. Israel's journey in the wilderness from Sinai to the borders of Kenaan was not very long. In the second year after the exodus from Mitzrayim and the construction of the tent of appointment, that is after they got those gatherings and constructed the tent of meeting and all of the utensils, then in that same year, they went out to spy the land. But it was the doubt and the distrust of Yahweh that caused what was such a short journey for conquest to become a 40-year delay in possessing the land. Now, according to researcher Kenneth F. Doig, in his meticulous work, and did very good work, called Journal Catastrophism and Ancient History, Los Angeles 1990, pages 147 through 157, he puts the date of the Exodus at about 1552 BCE. And in his work, he explains how he arrives at that conclusion. And his explanation in light of secular history, he did a very good job. Now, 40 years of wandering, 7 years of conquest, because it took 7 years for our ancestors to actually go in and begin to take possession of the land and be allotted out their inheritance. So 7 years of conquest, and then another 7 years to start the agricultural cycle, which would be based on 7. Believe it or not, according to Jubilees penned the Shemitah or sabbatical cycle to the very point where Israel actually does a 7-year conquest, is one sabbatical cycle, and then planting in the land for 7 years, and the 7th year being the beginning of its official cycle that's synchronized with all of the sabbatical cycles from creation. So this gives the beginning of the new Shemitah cycle of Israel in the land to be about 1499, 1498. That's 40 plus 14, 54 years, basically from 1552. And this is when, and I purposely put this in here to show that Yah gave us cycles also. And the cycles are part of our history, because in our constitution, in the covenant, in the Torah, the 7-year cycles are very important to the placing of events in the history, and also to point to prophetic events in the future. So to become familiar with the Shemitah cycle and how Israel actually synchronized with Yah's original cycle, I think is very important here. As I said earlier about the 7 years of conquest, that would have been 1505 BCE to 1498 BCE, where that would have been completed. And Israel began the sabbatical counting after the land was conquered and settled, because they had to plan to begin the cycle with planting, and then run for 7 years for the cycle to be set. And this was while each tribe was sitting in its inheritance, though not totally, because when we read the book of Shoftim, the Judges, we see where, and even in the book of Yehoshua, we see where Israel did not drive out all of the inhabitants as they were commanded to do. Nevertheless, they were in the land and they were possessing. Yehoshua made sure that he did what he was supposed to do, carrying the torch from Moshe. Moshe had given an allotment of inheritance, and Yehoshua, once they got in and conquered the land, made sure that those allotments of inheritance were dished out. And of course, it's Israel's first Shemitah. We're still talking about the same thing. This would be 7 years of fighting. The historical placement dating these events would be based on the years of the Exodus. And remember, I'm not introducing new information. It's the same information that I'm actually saying over again, hoping that it is a bit clearer. And I do hope that if there are questions after the study, or when we come to the question discussion part, that if there are questions concerning the Shemitah and this part here, you definitely do ask. This is very important. Even today, we are still operating in Shemitahs and Yobel or Jubilees. So wrapping it up, placing the first Shemitah of the people of the land at 1499 or 1498, give or take. Now, here we go from Shopatim to monarchy, from judges to kings. And this is that somebody have a question or a statement want to make? Mic is open. Okay. This is the area of land that was considered Israel. And I'm going to use my cursor here. Okay, cursor, where are you? Oh, there we go. Okay. You'd see right here, all of this here, this baby blue area, and all of this mauve, well, pinkish sort of area right here. All of this would be the land of Israel, stretching from the borders of Mitzrayim to the borders of Assyria, which is the area of Babylon, Nineveh, Syria, that area here. But this would be the land being occupied. And you'd see below you have the kingdom of Edom, Esau. You have Moab and Ammon. Then you have Aram, with Damascus as its capital, modern day Syria. Kingdom of Yehuda, which is closest to Mitzrayim and Edom. Then you have here on the west bank, you have Philistines. And below here, a desert tribe occupying a part of Sinai. Okay. So that's the territory. Now, the Shopatim, the judges. You'd see how long each reigned, 12 judges in total. Almost 300 years in total, 300 give or take. The first Shopet or judge was Othniel. The second was Ehud. The third Shamgar. And then we had Deborah and Barak judging at the same time for 40 years, considerable length of time. Then we have the Shopet Gideon, Shopet Abimelech, Shopet Tola, Shopet Yair, Shopet Yeftah, Shopet Ibzan, Shopet Elon, and Shopet Shemuel. These would be the judges that began right after the death of, or shortly after the death of Yehoshua, all the way to the first monarch that is set up, the first king that is set up. Now, so we have now moved down to around 1100 to 900, and we're going to go to 900 BCE from here. The first monarchy and then the first dynasty. The two books of Shemuel, Shemuel Aleph and Bet, that's First and Second Samuel, gives the account of Israel requesting a physical monarch, a physical king, in place of the invisible creator Yahweh. Yahweh had always intended to be king of Israel, and he is. That's who Adon Yahusha is. Yahweh in flesh, king of Israel. Now, at their request, Yahweh gave them Shaul, Ben Kish, sorry, and this may end there, but he's from the tribe of Benjamin, Yaakov's last son. He is the first monarch. He was later rejected by Yahweh for rebellion and replaced with Yahweh's personal choice, Dawid ben Yeshai. Oh, that N key must have been sticking. And Dawid ben Yeshai is from the tribe of Yehuda. Melech David would establish the first dynasty, which would be blessed to become an everlasting dynasty, culminating in the everlasting Melech of King Adon Yahusha, Master Yahusha. Now, monarchy is the setup of kings and queens. When we come to the dynasties, we have an extended inheritance from the monarchy. All of David's descendants would have been part of the same dynasty. So everyone who rules, who related to David, continues the dynasty of David. And Yahweh promised David an everlasting throne. And Adon Yahusha is prophesied to sit on the throne of Melech David at his second return, when he returns to the earth to bring the final leg of restoration. So Melech David would set up the first dynasty. He would be the second monarch, but create the first dynasty, especially for Israel, and in particular later Yehuda. David's son, Melech Shlomo ben David, called the wisest man that ever lived, would be the last monarch, the last king to rule over the united 12-tribe nation. Under Shaul, Israel would have been, he would have been ruling 12 tribes. Under David, he ruled 12 tribes. Under Shlomo, he ruled 12 tribes, and none after Shlomo would rule the united 12 tribes of Israel until Moshe ben David, the Messiah, son of David, comes, and that is Yahusha. Now, after Shlomo's death, this is what happened that caused the nation to split. After Shlomo's death, his son Rehoboam would cause all that Shlomo and his father labored to build, the unity of the 12 tribes, would cause it to be broken apart through youthful arrogance. But in the end, Yahweh said to Rehoboam, when Rehoboam was getting ready to go after the 10 tribes who had rebelled from him, Yahweh told him to sit still because the event is from him. He made it happen. And this is very important in our people's history, because there is something that we have to understand. From the time that Israel is split into two nations, the unity or the unification of Israel has been prophesied through all of the prophets. And that will only occur and can only occur under Adon Yahusha. And the unification of the two kingdoms of Israel is actually taking place right now. Right now, as we are speaking prophetically, the nations of Israel are being restored to one people once again. And that is because one king is ruling over all. And there are even those who are not of the house of Israel that has been brought into the house of Israel that are under that king. So nothing happens until these last days, when the king is setting up to rule again on this earth. Now, the whole event with Rehoboam occurred approximately 932 BCE, and is found in Melachim Aleph, 1 Kings 12, 1 through 24, where Rehoboam ben Shlomo would lose 10 of the tribes to a former servant of his father Shlomo. That servant's name is Jeroboam. And the tribes of Yehuda, Benjamin, and part of Levi, and also those from the other tribes who were actually residing in the southern portion territory of Yehuda, well, they would be ruled by Rehoboam, the descendant of David, and they would be referred to as the kingdom of Yehuda, and they would be the southern kingdom, while all the other tribes would be ruled by Jeroboam, and that territory to the north would be referred to interchangeably as the nation of Ephraim or Israel. So every time you hear, after the split, you hear the word Israel, you actually have to read the context of scripture clearly to see whether it is referring to the entire nation of Israel, or in particular, the northern kingdom of Ephraim, referred to also as Israel. So we end there today. We're now to the split, and I'm going to ask, are there any comments or questions concerning our slide presentation of our people's history?
Let's go ahead. Just a question for clarification.
Yes, sir.
Could you show back the slide with the various judges? I think you said 12 of them.
Yes.
Let me look at it, please. I think I may have missed one. Yes, I think we may have missed one.
Okay.
Shimshon.
Oh,
Samson.
how could we? I must have skipped over him when I was gathering my information.
For 20 years.
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're
Sharp, 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 sharp. Way to go, way to go, way to go. How could we forget Shimshon? So it'll be 13 in number. And we say 13 and not 14 because Deborah and Barak judged at the same time. But definitely Shimshon. Shimshon would have been the one. So I don't think. Yeah, sorry about that. So thank you for that. Are there any other comments before I pull down the PowerPoint? I could always pull it back up. Hey, yeah, so let's do that. I'll stop sharing here. Okay. Well,
you know, it's interesting to note that secessions don't only occur among the worldly kingdoms.
what's up?
I mean, when I study the history of Israel, I keep being fascinated at how all of these tribes saw how Yahweh worked for them, gave them so many benefits that you could say they did not even quite deserve. But because he chose them to be his treasure, he gave them. Yet they ended up fighting among each other. Brothers against brothers, tribes against tribes. And so it doesn't surprise me when I see countries here getting into the same thing, because I mean, you know, it's not that these countries are run by leaders who are following Yahweh, you see. So it doesn't surprise me at all, you know, when I look at this. I'm not condoning it and saying it is right, but I'm just making the observation that, you know, even among Yahweh's people, we have these problems, and that is why we have to be so careful to live the prayer of Yahushua before he left, that they may be one, Father, even as you and I are one.
Yes.
Praise you.
Praise you. And you're very right. But one thing you'd find, if you read the history, especially the succession of the kings, we had some ancestors who were assassins, who had no problems doing coup d'etat, especially in the northern kingdom of Ephraim. There were some cutthroats. When we talk about military coups, you can mention Jehu and others who just took the throne, tried to start their own dynasty, especially in that northern kingdom. Now, one of the things that we have to realize, and that's why studying the scriptures, both the Torah and the Nevi'im and the historical accounts and the writings, we have to learn from it, because Yahweh expects from us the same thing that he expected from them. And our ancestors did not do what they were supposed to do. And that's because, and not making excuses for them or for anybody else, because we are imperfect humans. But when each and every one of us individually begin to move toward pleasing Yahweh, our unity is automatic. Because as we please him and as we come to him, we have no choice but to come close to each other. But that takes an individual stepping forward. A lot of people look for a group to come together. But that group, in order to be a group, is established by individuals coming together. Now, when individuals' hearts and minds are in the right place, there is no problem. And the right place is being in tune with Yahweh. You don't have to be in tune with the sister or the brother, mind you. And I say that because if you are in tune with Yahweh, your in tuning with brother or sister would never be a consideration. It's automatic. So it's individuals. We have to take it as individuals and apply the lessons that we are learning from our historical past. Make sure we don't repeat it. And we who are living today have Ruach HaKodesh in us that gives us both the power and the desire to do Yah's will. We are not perfect, but the more we move toward perfection, the more we return to the image and likeness of Yahweh. And that's how unity comes, and that's pure unity. Okay, so any comments, questions, or you see anything that I might have missed in the history? It's very important to realize here too that at this juncture, the people that Yah solidified as a nation at Sinai would continue to be his chosen people till the end of time. There is no replacement of those people. And brothers and sisters, there's a very important thing that we must understand. When Yahweh says that he will bless Abram's seed, he literally meant Abram's seed. He didn't mean those who converted to a religion, but Abram's seed. And he meant Abram's seed, even if Abram's seed doesn't recognize who they are. They are still Yah's chosen, but blind to who they are. The promise is still there. And Yahweh did not move it to anybody who was not Abram's seed and is claiming to be Abram's seed and has done everything to deceive, to be perceived as Abram's seed. In other words, Yah will not take on a counterfeit just because he looks the part over his original intent. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that those who are not Abram's seed are outside of Yah's will, but as a nation, the nation that is now being renewed as Israel, because Adon Yahusha came to bring back Israel. And the only way Israel can come back is through teshuvah, redemption, has to be through Yahusha. That's what he was teaching. I am the way, I am the truth, I am the light. No man comes to the Father but through me. Regardless if you're from Yehuda, of Louis, of Asher, you could be from Egypt. The only way that you can come in or to the Father is through me. And when you come in through me, you're automatically an Israelite. The covenant is upon you. And you have the responsibility of living what the covenant calls for in every aspect. So that's how even persons who are not of Israel becomes Israel. But those who say that they are Israel and have not even accepted Adon Yahusha, how can you still say that they're chosen? You're saying that you could live how you want, but because you say you're Abram's seed, you can get away with everything that you want. No, Yahweh doesn't work like that. Even Israel, when Israel knew who Israel was, when Israel was disobedient, they were punished. No exception. And many times, because they knew better, they were punished greater. For instance, Korah, Abiram, and Dathan, the earth opened up and swallowed them up. They knew better, so they were punished. When we talk about Yahweh punishing the nations for their actions, he punishes people worse. Could you imagine our ancestors sitting and eating their young? Well, we're going to see when we come to the historical part, the siege of Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar, that cannibalism was very much a part of our ancestry. This is how low in the base, because Yahweh had turned his back on them because of their disobedience to the covenant, and he had given Nebuchadnezzar as his arm of punishment upon them. And this is how he punished them, even in the time of the Shoftim. He would take his protection from around Israel and allow the other nations to oppress them until they start crying out to Teshuvah. And whenever they performed Teshuvah, he would send a shofet, a judge, who would then deliver them. And Yahweh is forgiving. He's kind and he's compassionate. He's the first one who forgives over and over and over again. And because he's forgiving human beings over and over again, it is incumbent for human beings to forgive each other over and over again. And I'm not saying, and please don't get me wrong, when I say human beings should forgive each other over and over again, I'm not saying forgive and then put yourself back in a position to be offended again. That's not sense. You forgive so that you do not carry bitterness in you that actually works against you to your own self-destruction. So forgiving is good. Forgiving is a gift. You should practice forgiving all the time. You find that once you start it, you feel so light. Praise Yahweh for allowing me to get rid of decades of unforgiveness, because never knew how light you could feel. A testimony there. Now, come on. Yes. Zakan. I thought only me one is going to keep running with the monologue.
Yes. Again, going back to history and the way how people behave, I could not help remembering this guy, Abimelech. I don't know if we're going to come to that in our studies, but do you remember this guy who orchestrated the killing of 70 of his brothers in order for him to become the sole heir of Gideon, his father's properties? I mean, he was not even, say, a legitimate brother.
Nope.
Because he was the son of a concubine. But I found it rather strange that he would get up in his head to not only kill his brothers, but to do it publicly. Fortunately, of the 70 brothers, I think he only killed 69, because the youngest one, he survived. And when he was able to put a curse on that same Abimelech and all of those who worked with him, and they received their just punishment. But it is just to see how these individuals are supposed to be Yahweh's people, his chosen people, and how they would have allowed Hashatan to just get in their hearts and cause them to sin not only against their own flesh and blood, but against Yahweh himself. I think these are some very important lessons.
Yes.
You see, because the old people that say Yahweh don't sleep, and sometimes they say he don't like ugly, because people do these things and don't realize that there are consequences.
Yes.
And so in due time, we will pay consequences for the things we do, especially against Yahweh's people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Just part of sharing that one, because it's part of their history.
It is. And again, one of the things that I want to do is I want to identify with them to show, first of all, that as human beings, we're not perfect. But at the same time, as human beings, washed in the blood of Adon Yahusha, we don't have to make these same errors. And Abimelech would have been counted among the Shofetim. So we would have actually just passed over. We did a general talk on the judges. So we would have covered Abimelech in that, but it would have been that period during from 1100 BCE to 9, or before, yeah, about 1449 from the 99 from the time that the judges started ruling after the death of Yehoshua, that these events, and there are many other hideous events, mind you. Read the book of Shoftim. Some of the things in Shoftim will shock you. And you'll say, are these Yah's people? But yes, they are. Yahweh didn't choose them for their righteousness. He didn't choose us for our righteousness. He chose us because of Adon Yahushua's blood. And also Israel because of the promise that he made to Abram, who was faithful, and Yitzchak, who was faithful, and Yaakov was faithful. And Yahweh reminded our people of this. He said, I'm not doing this because of you. I'm doing this because of the word that I gave to your fathers. And as we know from our patriarchal history, Abram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were well-pleasing to Yahweh. Yahweh loved them and blessed them. And because of them, he blessed their children after them also. So that does not excuse the children from going amiss. If you are a seed of Abram, you should be wanting to be obedient and as faithful as Abram was, because that is what pleases the Father. So here we go again. Comments and questions. Contributions? Well, I know somebody must have a comment.
Well, the only thing I would say is, one of the things that you did point out was, our ancestors, they were ruthless. They had like, they were serious assassins. They had their past, they had their history. And, there's one thing, when you pointed out the timeline of, you said, I think it should have only taken 47 days.
Yeah, roughly.
I think that's what
yeah,
I read in the presentation. And
yes.
one of the things I always tell the kids is that, choose righteousness, choose to do the right thing. I don't want them to be 40 years in the desert lost to themselves. And, that is something that, in different circumstances I've shared with all the children. Don't be 40 years lost to yourself. Don't be caught up, because we know it happens. We see the stories of our ancestors. We see what they've been through. We see all that Yahweh did, how he showed by his mighty hand, how he delivered them. And through doubting Yahweh, which should have just been a short journey, turned into 40 years. It's just amazing. But that is a lesson for us. It is a serious lesson for us. And the thing is, they saw the miracles, they saw the overcoming, they saw these things. But we are just like them. We now, we look to those stories to help hopefully give us the strength that we need. But yeah, to see where they went from that to it is an interesting story to see how the Israels get split. It was, reading it was very interesting. So hearing it again just brought back those memories. Yeah.
Praise and thanks for the contribution. Would like to say though, it was 47 days from Mitzrayim to Sinai, and that's when, after 3 days washing clothes, they would be at the mount on the 50th day. So that's what I was referring to. But the journey, they would be there until they built the tabernacle, and the tabernacle was raised according to Shemot chapter 40, was raised on the first day of the second year, the first day of Abib in the second year. And then shortly after that, they would have journeyed a little bit more and reached the borders, in which I think in our Torah study, Zakan Eliyahu brought out the fact that it was the people's suggestion to spy out the land, and not really Yah's suggestion. But when that would have taken place, they were already there in the second year, shortly after constructing and erecting the tent of appointment. But they did not go in, so they had to actually be in the wilderness for 40 years. And you are so right about to show that even though there are people who have special callings to be a light to the nations, still human beings will have shortcomings, and I'm not making an excuse for them, but rather so that we would not be alarmed when people do things as human beings, not accept it, but just realize that that's a human being. That's why a human being could not die for a human being from the race of the line of Adam. Adon had to come through the seed of a woman in order to make sure that that influence, that Yetzer Hara, that evil impulse, was not a part of the sacrifice in order to bring man back. So we're thankful to Adon Yahweh for what he has done, and taking away the excuse, because, like I said, with the Ruach HaKodesh in us now, we have a better opportunity to fight. More so, and not that the Ruach HaKodesh was not in the time of our ancestors, David and Moshe, those, because he was very present. But as he is in us now, he was placed in us for our work, especially in the culmination of restoration coming into the end time. So from the time Adon Yahusha ascended, it was necessary for the Ruach HaKodesh to be in the believers to carry out the work of restoration, to bring Moshiach back, to complete the work of restoration. So our ancestors' history is very interesting. And note, we jumped over a lot of years. So a lot of things happened in between, okay? If possible, reading the Bible in a year according to its historical dating. For instance, a lot of the Nevi'im, the prophets, prophesied at the times of certain kings. When you match up the prophets and the kings, then you get a better understanding of the environment of that time and what was being spoken to. You also get to see the interesting way our ancestors taught. You'd see the cunning and the conniving, but you'll also see righteousness being guarded with resolution, unshakable. And there's a lot of examples of those also throughout. So it is encouragement for us. We don't have to fall because others fell before us. There are some before us that stood. We could stand like them. So let's choose to stand like them. Amen. Oh, my brothers and sisters are so quiet tonight. Okay. Going once, going twice, going thrice. Comment, question? Okay. But it has been very good tonight. And remember, please, next week we will be looking at the Shofrot of Hazan, the trumpets of a Revelation. And we visited before in deep study. Now we're going to revisit it in light of events that are happening now, just to take a break from the history, and then we'll return to the history after that. So look forward to everybody being here. Please invite someone who's who wants to know about what's going on. You won't be disappointed. Yahweh will not disappoint us.